They are finally addressing this, everybody. Lawmakers in Congress from both parties are showing support for another relief plan. The new plan would actually directly provide thousands of dollars to millions of low-income households that are struggling to pay for their monthly expenses. But some Republicans have signaled that they would like to implement strict eligibility requirements. So make sure to keep watching this, everybody, to find out what stimulus checks are going to be sent to you. Now, first of all, everybody, a bipartisan group of House members are planning on a recent legislative deal and plans to work on a proposal to beef up an existing tax credit for families with young children. The Problem Solvers Caucus has a group, and they're planning to launch a subcommittee to work on issues associated with the child tax credit. It's currently providing up to $2,000 per child, and it's a smaller benefit than one in place during 2021. It will be cut in half and applied to many fewer households, everybody. But a Ways and Means Committee member said the child tax credit came up during discussions about a debt limit this year, as the Problem Solvers Caucus aimed to build consensus on the measures that would help the American people out. The Problem Solvers Caucus includes 64 members, evenly split between Republicans and Democrats, who aim to work across the aisle. The group typically requires 75% support among its members to endorse proposals. Whether a bipartisan tax package comes together this year may hinge on negotiations around the child tax credit. A representative said he has an interest in aiding the low-income households that earn too little to get the benefits under the bill, and he has convincingly won recent elections and is still on the Democrats' target list for next year. He plans to ask representatives to be involved in the child tax credit discussions. And when Democrats were considering extending the child tax credit expansion, he said the benefits should be better targeted to benefit low-income households for a longer period of time, and the current maximum credit applies to $400,000. Even representatives specifically praised the party proposal to permanently make the credit fully refundable, which would have meant that the families who owe little or nothing in federal amount income taxes could still claim the full amount. Top Republicans have said they're not interested in the revival of Democrats' signature expansion. Still, there were hints at a Finances, Taxation, and IRS Oversight Committee hearing last week of potential interest in working across the aisle on the child credit. Even some subcommittee chairmen actually agreed on this, and economic growth has benefited the wealthy while keeping middle class behind and lowering the income thresholds for the poverty. Now, the senators are holding a series of roundtable discussions for lawmakers to work on the child credit and ways to alleviate the poverty. And so far, this Congressional Budget Office has estimated that making the current law and current child tax credit permanent will cost $600 billion plus through the fiscal year 2033. While enlarging it back to the 2021 policy, it can cost up to $100 billion a year just to get things done. One-time payments will be arriving for millions of Americans soon, and the administration has approved $39 billion in relief. State lawmakers are now approving legislation that would allow more low-income households to receive SNAP benefits.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Organ Procurement and Transplantation Network, or OPTN, was established by the federal government to manage the U.S. organ donation program. And today, OPTN is run by the United Network of Organ Sharing, or UNOS, which is the only entity ever to have been awarded this federal contract. Last year, the Senate Finance Committee released the findings of an investigation into UNOS that revealed that this system is deeply broken. Organs are getting lost in transit, infected organs are being transplanted into patients, and the individuals responsible for running the system are riddled with conflicts of interest. So let's talk about one of these conflicts. Federal law requires OPTN to have a board of directors. Makes sense. Most organizations are governed by a board of directors that, when working properly, serve as a check on the organization's performance and management. Ms. McCarthy, you are a transplant patient yourself, and you serve as vice chair of the OPTN's Patient Affairs Committee. So you see up close the governance of the OPTN. So tell me, Ms. McCarthy, is there any difference in membership between UNOS Board of Directors and the OPTN Board of Directors?
Senator, there's not. They're absolutely the same people.
So they are identical, right? And right now, that means the same people are in charge of overseeing how well the contractor runs the organ donation system, And those are the same people who are actually running it. So, Ms. McCarthy, how does this governance structure affect the intent?
Now, the IRS estimates that nearly $1.5 billion in refunds remains unclaimed because people have yet to file their tax returns. The median refund is $893 for the year, according to the agency. Taxpayers have until July 17th to file their 2019 tax return. This reflects the 3-year limitation date as the crisis pushed back the 2019 filing date by 3 months. Under the law, lawmakers and taxpayers generally have years to file and claim their tax refunds. That's if you don't even file a return within 3 years. The money becomes the property of the U.S. Treasury Department. And now, if you reside in the state of New Mexico, keep an eye out on your bank account. The New Mexico governor says that the latest round of rebates will go out mid-June. Thanks to a bill passed by lawmakers during the legislative session, New Mexico people have previously filed taxes and will get another round of rebates. Single tax filers will get $500. Married couples will get more. And taxpayers who use direct deposit when filing their tax returns will get the latest round of rebate checks automatically via direct deposit. If you moved here since 2021, you should update your address online via the Taxation and Revenue Department's Taxpayer Access Point. Now, for everybody in the United States of America, well, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that the consumer prices climbed 5% in March, down from 6%. The latest inflation reading represents the 9th straight month of easing price growth on an annual basis, and it's down from 9% high last June. But it's still well above the Federal Reserve's 2% target, among the key categories still seeing outsized pace growth, and now it's climbing 8.5% from March 2022 to March 2023, which hit 8.3% growth. As a result, cooling inflation won't really have proved much about solace to consumers in its demand that the Fed is aiming to address by the raising interest rates. Food and rent are among the categories that continue to have the largest price increase. Food prices already climbed 10%. In the same month, rents had their largest one-month increase on record, climbing 8.2%, and rent data is even considering a lagging indicator, meaning surveys are slower to capture real-time changes because most leases are at a 12-month long. We have a ton of good news about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI and SSDI. I'm ready to see what President Biden could do for you folks, and let's see what he could do for the American people. Hopefully he can do what he promised us and send out the fourth stimulus check. Now, first of all, the weather is heating up and so are gas prices. AAA has reported that the national average for a gallon of gas rose 8 cents last week, and now it's up to $3.66 a gallon. Now, oil prices initially got a boost early in April, which now surprisingly announced that it would cut production starting in May by about $1 million per day. This is news from the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries. This past Thursday, oil rose further after the International Energy Agency predicted global oil demand will climb